Everybody, welcome back to Impact Livecast. I'm having a good time so far. I hope you all are. We're getting lots of comments online. It would be really interesting to see who is the farthest away. Maybe we can get somebody to post where they're coming. So let us know where you're watching from. I know that we had people watching from Switzerland last time, and I think there were some people from Australia. So hopefully all around the world. You can help get the message out if you just send people to impactlivecast.com, or you get them to join our Facebook group, which is even better because you can be involved in the community, see the updates as we go if for any reason we have tech issues or anything else, and you can join the conversation at impactlivecast.com/Facebook. If you're tweeting about this, it would be great if you could use the hashtag ImpactLivecast. If you're on Twitter, you can connect with us at ImpactLivecast, and on Instagram, ImpactLivecast. If you forget any of those, you can go to impactlivecast.com and click on the social media buttons at the top. That'll get you to all those things. Facebook group. So there's no more excuses. Join the community, show up, and take a part. So we won't point you out if you have any social faux pas. We'll just take your questions and we'll hopefully have a great time together. I'm going to get know a bunch of the people in this group a lot deeper as we go along, because we're going to talk about a couple of things that everybody has in their life, and that's resources, opportunities, and constraints. So I'm just going to look at those three things: resources, opportunities, and constraints. And then we'll also take a look at mission. Basically, you know, what are your objections, or what is your mission in life? Now, everybody doesn't have to have a mission in life. There's nothing, you know, that's locked into stone that says you have to have a mission. For a long time, I didn't have a mission in life. I just kind of wandered from thing I wanted to do to thing I wanted to do, and I got to lots of interesting places going that way. But Jack Canfield sent me a book one day. It was called Success Principles. I didn't read a lot of self-help books, you know, at the time. I just hadn't done it. But he sent it to me, and he sent it with a personal note inside and said, I hope you really enjoyed this book, and I thought maybe I should read it. Now, it's about this thick, and it's very good, well-written book. And for whatever reason, despite the fact that I am the type of person that refuses to follow instructions. Now, if I gave you guys in the room all this long list of instructions, and ordinarily I would have the velvet brick here in the room. Unfortunately, she had to deal with some medical problems with her mother at the last second. She's hoping to join us tomorrow or whenever she gets here. We will be thrilled to have Karen Sachs back with us. Everybody that's online right now, please go out and post to Karen Sachs and say, hey, Ken called you out and said you were amazing, you're wonderful, you went above and beyond the call of duty despite some really all-encompassing activities and events that were happening in her life. And she really showed up for our entire team. Our entire team is amazing. We have a crew, a dedicated crew in the back. We have social media people. We have our assistant Velvet Brick that stepped up for Karen. We have everybody on the team that's pulling for you and for everybody here trying to have an impact. And we really, really appreciate that. But go out to Karen Sachs in particular and say, Ken loves you and thinks you're wonderful, and I hope we see you soon. So, life happens. Life happens. I didn't have a mission in life. Jack Canfield had a section in his book that said, develop your mission statement. And for whatever reason, despite the fact that I'm the person that doesn't follow the rules in the room, that hides in the back when they say stand up and do this, Um, I, for some reason, went through his list of how to create a mission statement. And I came up with a mission statement. And at the time, it was to help as many people as I could make a decent living online, because that's what I was teaching at the time. I was teaching people how to make a decent living online. And I mean decent in every sense of the word. Decent as in you could be proud of what you're doing, you know, that you felt like you were a decent person having a contribution, that you could go to the people that you love or respect. You could go to your pastor, you could go to your priest, you could go to your rabbi, you could go to whoever in your family that you would love to have the respect of, and you could say, I'm doing this, and they would be really, really proud of you. And decent in the way that you didn't have to worry about supporting the people that you loved. Decent that not necessarily you got rich doing it, but decent that you could provide people with the resources so that they didn't have to live under the stresses and strains that we all live under, to know that the people that they loved and cared about were provided for, and that you had the resources that you needed to be able to expand your message and those things, so that you could have a decent life. So a decent life in every respect of the word. And that was how I lived my mission for a while. But life goes on, and I think if we really are looking at what do we want to do in life, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up, right?
Right.
I've had this experience where I've told people all of the different occupations that I've had over the years, all the different jobs that I've had, and you know, it started with mowing lawns and the carryout boy at the grocery store, and then you know, I got a job walking punch cards between two buildings after I got out of the service. It was a building of PhDs up on Nassau Street in Princeton, to a bunch of key punchers that the building is still there, those of you who are in the area, that's down by the old Princeton train station. And I would walk between those two buildings carrying boxes full of punch cards. And they were actually doing space shuttle calculations on a 16K computer. They would read these punch cards into this little 16K computer. They'd send it off to some university computer and do these calculations, and it would come back 3 days later and say syntax error. So my first program that I ever wrote was, because I got kind of bored just walking between the two buildings, I asked the computer operator, I said, can you teach me how to program computers? And he said, why don't you write a program to list out the cards so we don't have to send them off for 3 days, get the syntax error back, we can check the cards before they go back in. And that was my first program many, many, many years ago, okay? So lots of jobs. I owned a pet store. I started out as an entrepreneur really early on, first with the lawnmower. I got the old electric lawnmower and did enough lawns where I could buy the gas lawnmower, which was top of the line, right? So on and on, I went into the recording studio business. I am still developing occupations as we speak. So mission in life doesn't have to be the same, right? I wrote my first book after I was 50 years old. I completed my first movie in my 60s. I hope to do a feature film, and I'm trying to get it done before the 70s. So you don't have to worry about where you are in life. Life has got you exactly where you're supposed to be, but you need to start doing things now. And it helps if you have a direction that you're going in, right? It helps you if you want to get to some place that you have a direction that you're going to head. Now that direction can change anytime you want it to. I encourage you to build modular building blocks that you can reuse in whatever you do. So For instance, if you build a list and you decide to change the focus, some of those people will still be interested in what you want to do, and they'll follow you from one thing to another. I had people that were interested in internet marketing, affiliate marketing, that followed me all the way through to my live events, that started learning about impact, who started to learn about publishing or radio and television, and then are now learning about creating movies, you know. So that same audience has followed me for, you know, over a decade through all of these different adventures. And if you build them modularly, you can reuse these aspects. So you can build audiences that way, you can build products that way. I know Ed does this a lot, and Ed will probably talk to you at some point about how he builds programs in a way that can be adapted to other things. So he'll take one module, you know, he teaches on many, many different subjects, but when you have a modular kind of an approach to things, then you can plug one thing into another, and you can keep reusing those things even as they evolve, right?
Almost all the programs.
So let's pass the mic down to Ed, because I do want to get these comments in.
Almost all the programs that I develop are based in communication, and that's a subject that most people struggle with and are fascinated by, and so I just take the main subject and then do niche programs around communication, communication in conflict, communication in relationships, communication between managers and direct reports. So all of the programs I developed, although they have different titles, are all based in communication.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. So if we have a mission and we're headed in a direction, I've used the example of you know, Stevie Wonder before. I don't know how many of you have heard the story about the time Tiger Woods came to my event. Tiger Woods showed up at one of my networking events. We got together last night. Sorry if you couldn't be there. You never know who is going to show up. One night, Tiger Woods showed up. And he was sitting at a table about this far away from me, and everybody else in the room was just from our group. I thought about Stevie Wonder, and I thought, you know, Stevie has some amazing talents and stuff like that. Amazing musician, lots of other attributes. He has one deficiency in terms of sight, right? What if he was trapped in a building like that and in a restaurant in one of our networking events, and you were standing at the door and there was, and you needed to get him out of the room just as quickly as possible, you know? Because we all want to know what to do, right? How many people here want to know what to do, step by step, right? Yeah, step by step, that's what we're looking for. You guys are all guilty of that. So step by step sounds really appealing to people. There's a problem with step by step, though. If you go step by step, my wife is a step by step person with computers, right? So if you push the button here, and then you push the button here, and then, oh, that didn't happen. Oh, now what do I do, right? Because a sequential kind of a thing. If you were telling Stevie Wonder how to get out of the room, you could say, what to do if you wanted to. Stevie, get out of the room. That doesn't help much. You could tell him step by step. Well, slide the chair back, stand up, move 3 inches to the right. That would take forever to get them out of the room. Give them a good why to get out of the room. Stevie, there's a gun at your head. They're about to blast your head off. Get out of the room. Do you think Stevie would get out of the room? If he believed you,
he'd find a way out.
He'd find a way out. He'd crash through the tables. He'd go in the general direction of wherever that voice was that was calling him to get out of the room, and he'd get out of the room, right? So many times we want to know what to do, and we want to know how to do it, step by step, when in fact you know more than you ever can execute right now. I would love to tell you that there are secret weapons, and there are lots of secrets out there. That just means somebody didn't tell it to you. but the fact is that there are thousands of things that we can do. If we want more audience, there are thousands of ways to do that. We are doing some of these ways today. You can do some of those things for us right now if you tell people to go to impactlivecast.com and click on the button, because then we can get those people to join us and to be here. So we can tell people exactly what to do. That's one way to do it. Video is one way to do it. Social media is another way to do it. Radio and television is another way to do it. PR is another way to do it. Book publishing is another way to do it. Have you filled your day yet? You know? Yes. Well, it's a much better approach, I think, in general, is to set that kind of direction that you want to go to. And if you can keep track of north and south and east and west, and if you can dodge the obstacles that are in your way, that you can get where you want to go. And you don't necessarily need step by step. You just need to know the things you need to know to get the next step done and to head in that direction. Does that make sense to you? Something to think about. Anybody have any comments on that?
You forgot live events.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I forgot. If you want a list of things, pass them down to Kellen. If you want a list of things that you can do, you can go to my blog at kenmcarthur.com, and you can do a search on 101 ways to get traffic to your website or something like that, and you can get lists. You can do a Google search and you can get lists and lists and lists of thousands of things you can do. I always mention John Kramer's book, 1001 Ways to Market Your Books. If you actually did all 1001 of those ways, you will have a bestseller, guaranteed. I absolutely guarantee if you do every one of those things, you will have a bestseller.
So I have now lost track of what the comment might have been about.
That's all right.
It's just about ways to go.
This is the, no, it was memory.
About opportunity. Well, I had several things that showed up for me. One is you talked about the Stevie Wonder crashing. Okay, the mic is now on. You're free to throw things at me. The back table is littered with water bottles. You can huck one in my direction. The point is, for anyone watching that says to me as a coach, I hear people all the time say, I don't know how to do that. And with a little questioning, they can, in a moment, think of 10 ways. I did that with a client the other day. He said, I moved, I retired, I don't know how to be of service in my community. In 15 minutes, we had 10 things that he listed that he could do right now, today, in his brand new community with people he didn't know. And he's like, dang, I got this. And it took 15 minutes.
So, anybody else have a quick comment on any of the things I talked about?
Yeah, I want to share something and
Turn it on.
It is on.
make sure that's on. And this goes to what Kellen was mentioning, is that usually as a resource, and people don't think of this, other people are resources. And even though you have a lot of resources within yourself, I found over and over and over again that when you join a group of people and you offer questions and ask for help, they will help you. And the group always comes up with more and better solutions than any one person could come up with. So as a resource, please reach out to your significant others, to trusted advisors. Even ask people who you wouldn't normally ask or who you may think would turn you away. You'd be surprised about how generous they are. So seek other groups and other people as resources. And if you don't have a coach, then definitely get a coach. That helps too.
So all of this is a long, long, long way of saying I want you to think for a minute about whether or not you have a mission, whether or not or a purpose or a goal that you're going to. In other words, do you have a direction? Because I think that's really important, that you have a direction. It doesn't have to be in the form of a mission statement. It doesn't have to be locked in stone. It doesn't even have to have a time limit on it. But if you have a direction that you're going, I think it's more likely that you will get there. And I want to explore down on a personal level what that direction is for you right at this moment. Now, I know some of the people in this room are in transition, right? They're looking at options. So when you're looking at options, I want you to think about what resources do I have and what needs do I have that will make me feel like I lived and loved and made a difference. The other thing I want you to think about is what activities do you like to do that would make you really excited to get up in the morning. Now, I know Skipper does a bunch of things that he doesn't like to do, right? that maybe, you know, that maybe he sees has to be done because he's got a team, but sometimes he's probably doing things that he just doesn't want to be doing that day. You know, maybe he sees this as a need in his business. And I'm going to bet that everybody in here has something like that they don't really want to do, that they really think would be really, really important in their purpose. But I want to encourage you to live a life where you get up every day and you're doing exactly the activities that you want to do. Now, here's what I mean by that. I mean, do you want to talk on the phone all day?
No.
Do you want?
Yeah, I could, and I would love that. I would.
All right. Now, yeah, I'm going to encourage you to stay on the mics, but there are people out there that love to talk on the phone. Is there anybody in this room? There is one right there. Okay, so there are some people that really, really like to talk on the phone. And there are some people that hate to talk on the phone. I heard one strong no over there. There are people that would love to be up on a stage, but there are people that, you know, that's one of the greatest fears of some people. Yeah, some people's greatest fear is to be on a stage. Because I figure if you find the thing that you like to do and you can get up every day, the thing that you're really excited about, and you can do that as much as possible every single day, you're going to be looking forward to the day. And if you can get to the end of your life and you feel like you had enough direction, that you lived, you loved, and you made a difference, that's a pretty good life, right? That's the elements that make up a life. So when I'm going to ask you here in a minute about purpose, I'm trying to get you to think about it in advance so you can get a chance to maybe formulate your answer. And maybe those people that are out there online have an answer too. You'd like to put it in the Facebook group. What you think your purpose in life is, or your direction in life, or where you want to go from now. And if you don't have one, start thinking about these things. Start thinking about what resources do I have that I could leverage right now, and which things do I really like to do? In other words, what activities, what physical things? My wife loves to get out in the sun, dig weeds, trim the plants. It's torture for me, folks. You know, my back is aching in the first second. So I'm glad there's people of all walks of life, right? Because otherwise we'd be in big, big trouble. If you're wandering in a maze, think about what are the times in my life that I felt the most satisfied, that I felt like I was doing something that really I look forward to every day. Because there's times like that in just about everybody's life. And if you have a clear direction, then start putting things on it like what's the scope of that direction and what's the time frame of that direction. So I'm going to go around the room, and I'm going to start in a different place this time because I'm going to go all the way down to Ed, who's at the other end of things. So pass this mic down to Ed. And I'm going to just start with Ed and ask him, give us a scope of what you think the direction or the purpose or the mission that you've got going on right now is, just as a starting point.
Sure. Well, I fortunately developed my mission about 25 years ago, and every year I go back to test that mission to see if there's any changes, and it has not changed in 25 years. My mission is to help others discover their brightest future, and that's pretty broad, so that leaves me a lot of opportunities for developing ways to do that. But I found that there's three ways that I do that. There's speaking, there's training, and there's consulting. Those are the three things that I love to do, especially training, because I get a chance to be in front of people all day, and they have to stand there and listen to me. But I do make it interactive, and I do gather from them as much as I give to them. And for me, again, the baseline is communication. I find that people struggle with communication. I'm going to talk a little bit later why they do that and how that happens, but how so much research has been done on how to improve communication. For me, communication helps with connection. People are really desperate to connect with each other, to take what's in their head and get it out to other people in a way that they can understand, and then that people respond positively and then communicate back with what's going on for them. There's lots of obstacles to that, but once you know the obstacles and you become aware of how you do you and how other people do themselves, then communication increases. When communication increases, then people can reach their brightest future, because most futures involve other people and connecting with other people, developing rapport and relationships. So again, my basic mission of helping people create their brightest future has a lot to do with communication, and communicating that is my mission too. So thanks, Ken.
My personal mission, it goes all the way back to me being a U.S. Marine, and it basically it's simple. It's to help people better their best. If your best is here, I want to take it here. We learn as U.S. Marines, pain is just a way of letting your body know you're still alive. We don't ever ring a bell. There's no ringing out. We never give up. And that's my life. That's how I live my life. I never give up. People, a lot of times I'm misunderstood because my drive is so rigorous. But I'm always trying to better my best. And I want others to learn how to do that for themselves. So that's my mission.
I don't know that I gave that a lot of thought, because I've wandered, particularly on the internet, for several years now. But at the bottom line, I've always helped people. That's my forte. That, and I'm the money lady. I understand money. So when you come down to it, if your goal is you really want to help people, then you need a wide audience, and you need to get on the internet and find the way. I very much like the comment that was made in here. When your why is big enough, your how appears. And that has been working for me. So I'm going to incorporate that in here. I'm targeting in, figuring out what I want to do. But I'd love to help you.
About 20-some years ago, I went back to college as a better late than never student. And I went for creative writing and very quickly found out that was not my forte. I became more of a journalistic writer, but I also got involved in a lot of environmental action. My mother and grandmother were products of the Depression, and our family always had a garden. We grew our own food, not all of it, of course, but we grew food, and we lived frugally. I don't want to say, there was scarcity, because there wasn't. But what it led me to was, during the college years, I ran a conference called Women's Environmental Leadership. And I found that women have a real different view of the environment and how our daily lives are lived. And so as I began social media presence, I became Be Green. And I have been very consistent for, as of 10 years in February, I have been Be Green on Twitter. And my passion is really helping people understand better their impact on the world and the impact that their decisions every day make on their community, their home, their family, and the environment as a whole. So I guess I am here in particular because I want to find a way to have that make a greater impact. I want people to become more aware of all the options that are out there for them to have a better quality of life, while it gives us all an opportunity to have a better quality of life. So I guess that is my mission, and I think an opportunity, but there's also a lot of constraints with that. And how do I accomplish that mission? So that's why I'm here.
Well, when Ken asked who likes to talk on the phone all day, it's because I love people. I love being with people, whether it be in person, being online, and having the opportunity to find out what they're doing, what their needs are. From a very young age, being able to find out what services and supports. I was a caseworker for 17 years for people with development. It was a natural skill set you kind of take for granted at times, and how do you monetize that outside? So for a while, I did kind of struggle with, I would do it for free because I love doing it so much. I would help people for free. And so it really right now, it's just a matter of my mission is connecting with people, building the relationships. I mean, it's one of the things that I definitely specialize at is the relationship piece, and then connecting them to supports and services, whether it be especially now online, and of course through the relationship piece, doing it heart to heart instead of just out being in there for the money. So that's what I am all about.
Well, I didn't have a purpose when I was 20 or 30 or 40 except to make money and prove to my mom that I was okay. And I spent my whole life doing that in the most broken fashion and didn't figure out anything, even though I was really successful monetarily and career-wise, and my resume looks like a who's who of a bunch of places, which is who cares at this point. Who's who has turned into who cares. But today, when Ken said resources, opportunities, and constraints, resources are infinite. Opportunities are infinite. Constraints, I have no idea, zero. And what I mean by that, and that sounds weird, and people say I'm weird, I don't even care anymore. And the thing that I notice is, like Jocelyn said about her natural connectedness, I love this woman. She is such a wonderful lady, and I watch her scurrying around here getting things ready. And Karen, who's not here, same thing. So my objective now is really clear, and that is every single person who believes they can't do something because it's too late, too hard, don't know how, missed the boat, bad opportunity, whatever it is, I'm the guy that says not so. If there is a place you want to go, the how will show up if you want it bad enough. Yeah, you get there faster with a coach and all the kinds of help and so forth. But learning to love yourself, trust what you're about, and moving forward, helping people do that is now my clear and present mission.
Fantastic. Everybody seemed really pretty clear on what their mission is. They got a direction. Maybe that part of that is directed to people that had a mission or attracted to come to something like this, because not everybody has this. A lot of people are wandering around in the maze of things. And I applaud you all for having missions like you do. It makes a huge difference. I'm hoping that we're getting some other people online. And if you don't feel like your mission is in place, if you don't feel like you've got the direction that you need, don't be afraid to step up to the plate and just say, hey, I'm wandering around out here in the haze. Because I guarantee you, every person in this room, and I know several of you, pretty well, that I have experienced it when you were wandering around in the maze, right? There's nothing to be ashamed about when you're out there in the maze. And you don't have to have a life that is entirely driven. Some of us in the room are very driven about things, and we're really anxious and impatient to get on to the next step. But it doesn't ever hurt to take a breath and stop and look out there and see that spring is coming, or that the moon rose during the middle of the day, or that you have a family next to you, or all of those kinds of things, and say, I'm just for a little while going to do nothing, and I'm going to experience nothing. And when I get tired of doing nothing, I'll get up and do something, So that's all right. There's a time and a place for everything. In 12-step programs, that's part of what people look at, is it the right time that you're going to change? Are you even aware that you have a problem, right? When you're talking about something like alcoholism or drugs, we go through stages with that, right? So the first stage is, I don't have a drinking problem. What are you talking about, And the next stage is, well, I know I should do something about this, but I'm not really motivated to do something about this, And then maybe you get to the point where you say, well, I've really got to do something about this, but still don't take any action. You're right there. That you got a real problem, and then there's that point where you say, all right, I take the first action, and then inevitably there is, the relapse, right? How many times do we relapse in our missions or our goals or where we're getting to? So you have to be comfortable with relapse and realize, like Kellen says, that there is no answer that you can't do this, There is no reason that you can't do this if you want to be doing this. If you want to accomplish something, we all have resources. So let's just maybe pass the mic and call out a few resources that we got. We got a question online first, though.
Actually, it's not a question, but listen, guys, I've been watching for your questions, and I'd appreciate it if you send them in. But Karen is in Peru.
Karen's in Peru. Oh, we got an answer to that. Hey! Welcome from Peru. Now, go out and tell all your Peruvian friends that they should be joining us. We'd love to have them on the livecast. And you can just send people to impactlivecast.com. And they can click on the button to get the stream. And join the Facebook group. Be sure and join the Facebook group, impactlivecast.com/Facebook, so you can stay in touch. Notice how he keeps reminding these things and repeating these things over and over again. Because I know, just like with your audiences, that that people are busy, right? And it's worse if you live in this community and are coming to the live event, or you're online and you're watching in a live cast, because whenever you're in your home environment, it's much, much harder to be focused in on exactly what we're doing. Mm-hmm. I know it's harder for me to have events in Philadelphia than any place else. And the reason is because you're always accessible, right? So when things go wrong, things go wrong and you're supposed to take care of them because you're right here. Now, Jocelyn's experiencing part of that right now. She can't be something. She got things going on in her life, but she's here, she's here right now. So it's a little bit easier when we're able to do that. So I know for people that are out there on the internet that there are going to be lots of distractions during the day. The more that you can turn off everything else and escape and just sit here and luxuriate in this special time with people, the more impact we're going to be able to have in your life. But let's get specific, because it's great to talk about generalities and how generalities should be, right? But what about specifics? What can we do specifically? And the first thing that we ought to look at, when we're looking at achieving our goals. So you had all these lofty goals. I heard all kinds of lofty goals. What are you doing specifically? What resources are you pulling into play? What's taking you forward right now, right? Or what's holding you back? So Jocelyn is aching for the mic.
One of the things that I've always said, and it comes down to what Ed had said a little bit earlier, is don't ever underestimate the power of tapping into other people. I've always said I don't need to know how to do everything myself. I just need to know people that do. And that is one skill set that I have, that always have had the ability to connect with the right people, to be able to bring them into my life as resources. Being able to have the opportunity to work together as a team and partnering for people that have the skill set that you don't have is one of the things that I have always done that typically works very well and currently is working well. And again, right now, having a team when something goes wrong and people can't be here, Ken knows that we've got his back and that we're still, able to jump in and do what we need to do. Whereas if he didn't have that and he was running it himself, oh boy.
Yeah.
So I kind of have to agree with what Kellen said right now. Is I can't think of anything. I don't let anything hold me back. I mean, yes, are there things that come in the way, and as I don't know if you'll mention it later in your presentation or not, but Kellen always refers to it as incidental mayhem. Where, things are going to happen, life's going to happen, things are going to get in the way, but it's how you respond and how you react to it. And, it's life happens, as Ken said. So you have the choice every day to decide whether you're going to let it knock you down and keep you down, or you're going to pick yourself back up and keep on moving forward. And that's what I choose to do.
Okay. Anybody else? I know Kellen doesn't have any problems, so.
Well, what was the question? What's holding me back?
No.
Resources, and then
Yeah, what kind of resources are working for you now? In other words, what's actually, in other words, let's get down to specifics about what.
I start every single morning with a morning ritual. The morning ritual is honed and refined over a dozen iterations, and it takes me about an hour, and it is designed to create me in the most powerful, resourceful, capable state I can be. I do it every morning. Not because I'm a slave to habit, not because I haven't got anything else I could do, like sleep another hour, but because I love what happens to me after I do that. And so if you think about a franchise sports player who does a ritual before he throws a free throw or before he goes to the game, or a performer on a stage, they all have those rituals. Creating one of those and using it ruthlessly and tweaking it and messing with it until it creates the most powerful version of yourself, and do it every day because you love how you feel afterwards. That's one thing I do, and I do it every day. And I help people learn how to identify and do those things. A second thing is a game that I play when this incidental mayhem strikes, and that is to see how many seconds I can take to get out of this situation and return to control and center. So it used to be a month and, 96 hours of unconscious drugs. Now it's 1.2 seconds. Now it is a half a conversation. Now it is, okay, this has happened to me. What is the gift here? Even if I've been kicked in the teeth, what is the gift here? When I say that to people, they think I'm insane. And it's not. It's true. And so you want to know the rituals and things I use for those. Those are a few of them. And they're powerful and they work. I got lots more.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Okay, go ahead.
About 6 months ago, I happened to catch a video by Mel Robbins, and she described the difficulty in trying to reach a decision, and the fact that she had to create an exercise for herself that got her to take action. And it's as simple as counting backwards from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you take the action. Whether it's timing yourself in the shower, whether it's, deciding to get married, it is making the decision and then going forward and seeing what happens. And I think that's a lot of the magic that you provide, is you give us the confidence to take that action and have impact.
And remind me to come back to that, because I want to get to you, Nancy, but I want to talk to people about how we make those choices And the advantages of making those choices quickly, because time is a factor here. And if we want to get exponential results, the earliest possible time that we can act is right now. Any time longer than that is slowing down your results, right?
I have to say that what Kellen had to say really struck me. About 2 months ago, I had been waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, just waking up. And I was awake for a while. And I let it happen and took a deep breath and listened to some music and tried to get back to sleep. And about a month ago, I woke up at 3 o'clock and into my head came, in the quiet of the night. Now that might sound like nothing, but it's huge to me. And it became, in the quiet of the night, and the universe gave me the next step or whatever it is. And I find that quiet time in the quiet of the night moves my business forward, gives me ideas, and I take another step each day.
Thank you. The stretch, right? We were talking about resources, and you wanted to get specific. And one of the things that I had on my computer I brought up is something that my wife had developed with a mastermind group, because she's a life coach, and she takes her clients through a series of questions. And it starts off with, what do you want? How will you know when you get it? When you get it, what will change? And a key question is, what resources do you have to help you get this? And she said a lot of people get stumped on that, and they come up with, well, gee, I don't have any resources. I can't think of anything. And so she would then pull from them some resources that she knew that they had. And she would say, oh, do you have time to do something? And they usually say, well, yes. And she would say, well, do you have people to help you? And they'd say, oh, yes. And she'd go through this list. And she finally got tired of pulling this out of people. And she said, the heck with it. I'm going to go ahead and make a list. And so with the Mastermind group, they actually came up with a list of 50 resources that you always have available to you at any time. And she categorized it by both internal resources and external resources. Some of the internal resources, for example, are you do have intellect. You can think things through. You have a brain, and you have the ability to think. You have experience that you can pull from, both positive and negative, to help you. You've also got energy. So in some cases, it may be a small amount of energy, but it's still there. You also have people who love you and want to support you. Even at times it doesn't feel that way. Also, you've got, let's see, what else did she create here? We've got values. You have beliefs about what is good and bad, and that has worked for you. So those are all the internal resources that you have. Then you have external resources. You have access to information, the likes which never existed before. You have the ability to earn an income. Even people who may be physically limited because of the internet now have an opportunity to make a substantial income. You have a network, a community that you can draw from. You can build an audience. You have the ability to listen. Sometimes it's a little hard. You need to develop that habit, but you have that ability to listen. And also you have some time. Okay, usually you have to use urgency to apply that time effectively. So even within those categories, there are additional resources. So actually, I'll invite Ken to put this, I'll make this list available, and because it was developed by my wife, and she's happy to share it with the world. That's part of her mission. So you always have more resources available to you than you think you do.
All right, that's great. And I think making choices is one of the hardest things in the world, you know, for most people to do. My wife would say I procrastinate about everything. I say I strategically decide to wait to see what opportunities come up at the last second. But So we can make choices, you know, to wait things out. I often accuse people because they sign up for my events at the last second that it's a little bit like the prom date. You're looking for a better offer, you know, that maybe something will come up at the last second, and if not, we'll go. But I'm glad you made the choice to be here, and that's what you did. I mean, that's what every person in this room said in their heart of hearts is, I'm going to be there. I'm going to show up no matter what happens along the way. And if I told you all the stories of things that happened along the way and how hard it was for some of these people that are in the room, and some of the people that will be in the room a little bit later that had even more problems getting to here, it was a choice to show up. Now, some people made the choice not to show up, right? And maybe that's a good thing for them. You know, maybe this is not the right time for them. The people that are in this room are a vibrant community, obviously with some really, really bright and incredible ideas to share with you, and they want to change your life. So this is the moment that we have to impact people. If we choose to do nothing, is that a choice? Yeah. Obviously, right? Yeah. My house was built in 1968, and I can choose to do nothing with that house, and it will just slowly rot. It'll take a while, right? But the copper pipes will go out, the electricity will go out, the roof will start leaking. Have you ever passed by an old barn and seen, you know, one that's completely missing everything except for the stone walls or something that were there originally, you know? They're just kind of in the rubble, and then eventually that goes. A huge maple tree fell in my backyard. It actually filled up the entire backyard during a storm like we're having today, I guess, in which it didn't hit anything in the room, in the backyard, but it filled every single square inch of the backyard. And I thought that was pretty much a miracle in itself. The next miracle was the group of people that came in chopped up that huge, huge maple tree that was about this big around at the trunk and left all of these pieces of wood for me, right? And I have a fireplace, but it takes a long time to chop up all that wood by hand. And so for a while, it sat in my backyard, and it's pretty amazing to me how that rots into absolutely nothing. Within a few years, those hard pieces of wood that you could not possibly lift at all are now riddled with holes, falling in. It's like paper, you know, and it just decompresses into nothing and becomes this mulch in the back of your yard, right? So if the mighty maple tree that stood in my backyard would have crushed your life out of you when it fell on you, can rot down into nothing, then doing nothing in the rest of our lives can have a similar effect, right? And we make those choices, you know, as we get older, or as we get tireder, or as we as we reach different constraints or obstacles in our life. And Skipper makes the choice, I think, you know, every single time because of his training and everything else. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I learned in the military that when you run in boot camp, that you think you're going to die, right? You think you're going to die, but you never do. And I finally woke up to the idea that if I really couldn't take it anymore, I'd fall over, and then I wouldn't have any more worries about it, right? I'd just be there laying on the ground. If I really couldn't take it, I'd either be dead or unconscious, right? And it never got to that point. Never ever got to that point.
They'd wake you up.
Yeah, they'd wake me up. Skipper, I ran in the back of the pack with the fat boys, and I was 165 pounds and 6'3" at the time, and I still ran in the back. I was, let's say, athletically challenged. However, I did not die, right? I did not die, and I did on the day that I got out, I ran from the Princeton train station to the house that I was going to be staying at, and it was the happiest run of my life. I actually ran feeling really good. Anyway, so we all have challenges, we have constraints and stuff like that, but we make choices, right? I'm hoping that you're going to make the choice to stick with us, because Ed Andreessen is going to open up the next section, and he's actually going to give you some structure and some a great presentation. One of the things that Ed does so well is to provide a framework for people to get their ideas out so that they can communicate them. And knowing Ed, I know that he's going to get you engaged and that he's going to have a blast for you, and you're going to learn a lot. Because the last time we did the Impact Livecast, when Ed made his presentation, all they talked about for the rest of the week was Ed's presentation. So, so we can look forward to that. Jocelyn's got something she wants to say.
I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Robert Merlin Davis, who just messaged to say that he is watching us. Thank you, hey!
Yay!
And he said, Kellen and Ken are two of my favorite people on the planet, and I'm sure that they would agree that we're missing you, so that you and Kellen, playing the piano the last time at one of the events. So hopefully you can make it to the next one, but did want to just give you a shout out.
Yeah. Dueling pianos we had. That was really, really wonderful. We'll do that one again. I know there are other people online, and so we're as far away as Peru. If you're further than Peru from Philadelphia, let us know.
Throw it out there.
And go out and get somebody that you know is far, far away, because we're going to be coming back with Ed, and we're going to have a great, great presentation. So let me just do this just in the last few minutes. Is there anything that you got out of this first session that you actually remember? Because we started this out with what did we remember, right? So is there anything in this session that you remember?
Was it this session or last session that it was the dog, computer, car, and beer?
There you go.
Was I supposed to remember?
Things to how to remember, huh? Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, I'm thinking of Ed's focus on communication. One of the things that's fascinated me lately is how our body is really just a communication device. Every hair on your head, every breath, every thought, every eye movement, everything, including every thought, and attention and the choice about what is it that you want to communicate with not only with your words and actions and thoughts, but even with your life. So if you think about the body as a communication device, and be conscious and aware of that all the time, what are you communicating? So that was some of the stuff I thought about while you were.
Fortunately, I wrote it down. I'm going to remember when the why is big enough, the how appears. So pour it into your brain, blast it there, because it really struck me.
Anybody else? Skipper, you didn't remember a thing?
Car, beer.
There you go.
Dog, computer, dog, computer, car.
Dog,
You want some?
computer cables, car.
Okay, remember.
Didn't need a beer.
All right, we got the mic right here.
Okay. I remember how excited I am to hear all these presentations, because this is just the tip of the iceberg, and I'm really looking forward to what's next. So please come back.
Yeah, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a 15-minute break. You're going to come back to Impact Livecast. Go out right now and tweet or Twitter or whatever you do on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you are in the world. Tell somebody else that they should be here, because the real instruction starts in 15 minutes. Come back to impactlivecast.com and refresh your screen. And in the meantime, if you haven't done it yet, please join the Facebook group at impactlivecast.com/faith.
I want them to ask questions
Oh.
so you can answer them.
Okay. Make sure you ask your questions in the Facebook group, impactlivecast.com/Facebook. and we will get to them shortly. We will not ignore your question. It will be read out, assuming that it is indecent and, decent. In decent order. All right, everybody have a great time. Take your 15-minute break. We will start at 11:30 Eastern Time.